My family skipped my app launch to celebrate my brother's promotion. The next morning, they saw my $9.2 million deal on the news and begged for a share. Hi Reddit, I'm Leia, 29, female, and this is my story. For the past 2 years, I had lived on coffee, code, and determination. I built my app entirely from scratch, a mental health platform designed for Gen Z and young professionals. It was a space where journaling met AI therapy, combined with social accountability to encourage people to heal and grow. I pitched to over 30 venture capitalists, faced dozens of rejections, ate cheap ramen almost every night, and worked 2 side jobs just to keep the dream alive. Finally, after 2 years of struggle, I secured funding, finished development, and decided to celebrate with those who meant the most to me. The launch party wasn't extravagant, just a cozy loft space filled with energy, laughter, and people who believed in me. My dev team, beta users, a few friends, and even 2 investors who flew in from out of state. Everyone seemed so proud, so excited. But the absence of my family hung over me like a shadow. I had sent invites weeks in advance, even offered to pay for my parents' transportation. They politely declined. The reason? Ezra's promotion at his sales job. A job he had been doing for nearly 10 years. My parents were so overjoyed that they threw him a full backyard bash, balloons, cake, and a house full of relatives. As I stood there, holding my glass of champagne, listening to my team cheer for a dream I once thought impossible, I couldn't help but think of my family laughing and taking pictures with Ezra. They didn't even send a simple good luck. But I said nothing. I smiled for photos, thanked everyone who came, and focused on the moment. Until that series of texts came in cold, dismissive, and painful. My heart was heavy, but I replied calmly, check tomorrow's news. Because I knew once morning came, they would realize just how wrong they had been about me. At exactly 7:01 a.m. The next day, the article hit TechCrunch. Pre-launch mental wellness app, Lenara, acquired for $9.2 million in quiet deal led by Tempest Capital. Solo founder Leia A. built the entire MVP from her 1-bedroom apartment over 2 years. I didn't even post it myself. I didn't need to. Within minutes, my LinkedIn exploded. Former bosses, college professors, classmates, everyone was tagging me, sharing the article, writing things like, knew she'd make it and so proud of you. People who once ignored my messages were suddenly claiming they had always believed in me. By 8 a.m., my aunt texted, you didn't tell the family? Your mom's losing it in the group chat. I opened the chat and saw 96 unread messages. Mom was in shock, writing, this must be a mistake. It says solo founder. Dad added, we could have helped you manage the money. Ezra wrote, so she sells a journaling app and thinks she's Zuckerberg. Chill. Then came the worst message. We deserve some of that success. We raised you. That was the moment I finally spoke up. I typed, for the record, I built every feature alone. I funded the first 6 months myself. Ezra once told me to give up and marry rich. So no, you don't get credit. You don't get shares. And yes, you were invited. You chose not to come. Then I hit send. Silence. One by one, relatives reacted. A few cousins privately messaged me to say they were proud. Others asked how to invest. But from my parents and brother? Nothing. Until 10:46 a.m. when Mom wrote, we didn't know it was that serious. Dad asked if I planned to set something aside for the family. And Ezra texted, just remember who really supported you growing up. I stared at his message and felt a chill of anger. If support meant laughing at me for staying in weekends to code, interrupting my Zoom pitches to ask me to do chores, and calling my passion a phase, then yes, they supported me. By noon, my app was trending online. Therapists and tech influencers were talking about it. One even said, this app might change how we talk about burnout. I sat there, watching my life change overnight, knowing the deal was final and my NDA had just expired. I could finally speak freely about what I'd built. At 1:06 p.m., more messages arrived. Dad said I was being cold. Mom claimed they didn't realize it was worth so much. Ezra said he had suggested the app's name, a total lie. I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, Noor, who calmly reminded me, if they try to claim anything, document everything. I nodded. Ezra had no involvement, except maybe the occasional mocking comment about my hoodies. A few hours later, I got a call from security. My family had shown up at my building lobby, flushed, sweaty, and clearly panicked. They demanded to come up. I told security to deny entry. Minutes later, more texts came through. Mom begged, "Let us in. What will people think if our daughter paints us as ungrateful?" Dad wrote, "We need to talk numbers." Ezra added, "I'm not leaving until we agree on my cut." My hands trembled, not from fear, but rage. I calmly instructed security to escort them out. 20 minutes later, they were gone. That night, I posted on LinkedIn. 2 years ago, my family said this was a cute hobby. Last night, we closed a $9.2 million deal expanding access to mental wellness tools across 5 countries. You don't always need support. Sometimes you need doubt, just to prove it wrong. Within an hour, it had over 18,000 likes. I didn't mention my family, I didn't need to. The truth was already loud enough. Apparently, someone in my extended family sent that post to the group chat because the messages started flooding again. Aunt Mira wrote, "We're so proud of you, Isla." Uncle Dev added, "Why didn't anyone tell us?" And Cousin Priya said, "You all called it app nonsense. Look at her now." Mom, of course, replied with, "Can we stop posting this? It's family business." Ezra followed with, "She's just milking it for attention." That's when he sent me a Venmo request, $150,000, captioned, "Back pay plus creative contribution." I declined and blocked him. Then, I took the most empowering step of all. I removed my parents and Ezra from every legal tie to my life. Emergency contacts, power of attorney, authorized access lists, everything. They were out. For good. 2 days later, I sat in a conference room on the 24th floor of a high-rise in San Francisco, speaking on a private founders panel for Tempest Capital. Just 48 hours earlier, my family had called me ungrateful. Now I was sharing a stage with industry leaders. When someone asked what the hardest part of building alone was, I didn't hesitate. "The emotional cost," I said. "It's one thing to be underestimated by strangers. It's another when the people who raised you mock your dreams." The audience clapped, but inside, I just felt peace. That morning, my lawyer had sent me an email confirming my family's complete removal from all my financial and legal affairs. Then another email came from Ezra. "We're still family. You got lucky. Don't forget where you came from." I deleted it without reply. A week later, I was invited to speak publicly at a panel called Founders Who Beat the Odds. Halfway through my talk, I spotted him, Ezra, sitting in the 3rd row, arms crossed, wearing that same smug smile. During the Q&A, he raised his hand and said loudly, "Would you say this company would exist without your family's support?" The room fell silent. I took a deep breath and smiled. "Absolutely," I said. "In fact, it exists in spite of them. They skipped my launch party to celebrate a promotion. They called my work a hobby. They asked for money before asking how I was doing. This company was built from silence, pressure, and being underestimated, and I'm proud of that." The room erupted in applause. Ezra looked like he'd been slapped. The next day, I received a message from Ezra's boss, a regional VP at his company. "Saw your panel. Didn't realize Ezra was your brother. He listed your startup as a partnership on his resume. That's not true, right?" I simply sent him a link to the TechCrunch article and a screenshot of Ezra's Venmo request. That was enough. A week later, I heard he'd been fired. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post anything. I just booked a solo trip to Iceland. Standing on a glacier with cold wind on my face and no Wi-Fi, I finally felt something I hadn't in years: peace. 3 months later, back in my quiet penthouse overlooking the bay, I found an envelope in my mailbox. My mother's handwriting. I opened it slowly. "We didn't think you meant it," she wrote. Maybe we didn't understand, but we were proud in private. Ezra said things he shouldn't have, but family matters more than business. We're here if you're ready. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. Because weeks ago, I had already sent my own letter through my lawyer, declaring full legal separation and no contact unless invited. They got it. They just didn't believe I'd follow through. Later that night, my cousin Aisha messaged me. You inspired me. I applied to a startup accelerator. I'm in round 2. Aunt Mira hasn't stopped bragging about you. I smiled softly. That was enough. Because family isn't always the ones who share your blood. It's the ones who show up when no one else does. Like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the best revenge is simply building the life they said you never could.